Now I invite you to all join me in meditation. So if you just close your eyes if you feel comfortable. Just begin to feel the chair and how it gently supports your body. Your feet rooting you to Mother Earth. Your crown chakra opening. Letting nothing but pure white light begin to fill your body. Moving from your head down into your throat and into your shoulders. Into your chest and that heart space. Moving through your core and down into your legs. And through your feet, tethering you more to the Mother Earth and the nourishment contained within. We take another deep breath, and on the exhale, we release anything that is holding us back. Anything there that is preventing us from moving forward. Anything there that no longer serves our highest good, that hinders our spiritual growth, we release. And as we continue to go within, we come to the realization that this wonderful adventure called life is full of choices. Full of changes. And within each of those changes, there lies the most amazing moments for spiritual growth and to further our soul's journey here on this earth. And we know within each one of those choices and those changes, there are no wrong paths to take, merely different ones, leading to its own spiritual growth in whatever form that takes. And as we begin to go into the silence, we know that we can go within, because within is where the I am, where Spirit resides. And Spirit is always there to guide us on our way. And we know this and we feel this as we go into the silence. Into the silence. And as we begin to bring our awareness back into this room, back into this moment, this present moment right here in this time and space, we bring forth the realization and the knowledge that Spirit is always within. No matter the choices we make or the changes that appear to us in our lives, we know that we can always go within, always to that still small space where Spirit resides. Knowing that there is never the wrong choice, just merely different paths to take. When we breathe in, we inhale. And again, we exhale, releasing any remaining residual energy that no longer serves our highest good. We inhale and we exhale. So it is. Hello? Okay, making sure. Man, that was a lot different than this little light that I sang in my Baptist Sunday school classes. We did something like, hide it under a bush, it was something like let the devil blow it out or something like that. But anyway, I was glad we didn't hear that. So anyway. So I am so glad to finally be here in Madison. Thank you for the warm welcome. The gray and the drizzle kind of makes me think I might have brought a piece of the Pacific Northwest with me, so that's good, though. That's good. I'd rather have that than hot and humid, so. I know. But remember, I am from Texas originally, okay? So I can deal with it, all right? Okay. You're not going to scare me off that easy. But so it's been almost 3 months, and I'm finally here. 3 months of packing and sorting and all of those other pain in the rear, I'll say rear since we're in church, pain in the rear tasks that come with getting ready to move. Now, my wife, Mindy, unfortunately, is still there, and she's still going through the packing and things like that, but I'm going to try not to say too much about that to rub it in because this is being live streamed. Yeah, and I fear she's watching it, and I fear retribution, but she will be here next month. She will be here next month, so wherever the camera is, I love you, Mindy, and we'll be happy to have you here. But anyhow, I'm a minister, so I'm not going to stand here and lie to anybody. It's been hectic, and I don't mean just a little bit hectic. I mean a lot. Because it has been a really big change, and like most big changes, it's come with its stresses, but it's also come with its excitement. I mean, this is a good, happy thing, right? So I'm going to ask a question, and you don't have to raise your hand unless you feel called to do so. I'm not going to remember, who did and didn't raise their hand. But how many people in this room like change? See, I knew there would be a few masochistic people out there. I knew. But anyway, I'm not talking about the kind of change like changing your bed sheets, okay? I'm talking that big life-altering change. The kind of change that makes you wake up and be like, where in the world am I? Am I still in the same universe? That kind of change. Now, I used to be one of those people, and I did not like one iota of change. And this stems back from my childhood. My mother used to like to occasionally change the furniture around in the house. I didn't like it, but she liked it. She may be watching this too, so I better be nice. But she would change the furniture around, and she would change the bed around in my room. And I swear, even as a child, it probably took me a good 2 weeks to not wake up and be like, where the heck am I? and to be able to sleep good again. I mean, that was how much I did not like change. But looking back in my childhood, there was probably never really a lot of change. My parents kind of liked to stick to the status quo, other than changing the furniture. But I lived in the same house from the time I was 8 months old until I was 20 years old. My dad worked for the same organization for over 30 years. And my family just wasn't really one that dared to kind of get out there and take these adventures to bring about much change. So what do? I decide I'm going to just have change the rest of my life, I guess, but I joined the military. And let's just say that things in the military are seldom ever the same. They're always changing. I became a medic and an EMT and worked in an emergency clinic of our base hospital. And within that, there was always change. No shift was ever the same, and we never knew what we were going to get on a specific night because I worked nights. My duty stations often changed. My supervisors, pretty much everything was always in a state of flux. And I remember one specific moment or period when I was at work, and I had these two supervisors that I really, really liked. They made work seem fun. It seemed almost too lax to be military. But we would joke, we would laugh, and I just really loved them. And however, I come into work one morning, and they've been replaced. So that's a different story for another time that we can go into later. But it threw me into a complete tailspin. I walked in, I was like, I don't even know if I'm going to like coming to work anymore. My whole world had just been changed. And I felt like my entire life had just been shifted in that moment. But fast forward a few months later, and it turned out to be one of the best things that had ever happened. These two new supervisors taught me so much about life, about the military, and one of them went on to become one of my best friends after we got out of the military. So another instance with change with me, and it happened not too long after a breakup with an ex-girlfriend. I was living in Austin, Texas at the time, but I was like, I'm going to do something a little bit different. So I moved to another part of town, kind of got used to, living somewhere different, seeing some different scenery. And I even found this great new church. I found a Unity church, my first Unity church. And I loved it so much, as you can guess, I obviously liked it. But I decided they mentioned that a new membership class was coming up. So I was like, I'm going to sign up for that. I'm going to become a member. So the day starts getting a little bit closer, and I start thinking, well, maybe I won't do it yet. A lot of change has been happening, and maybe I should just put the reins on it and slow down a little bit. Yet something in the back of my mind just wouldn't quite let me, so I went. And I'm glad I did, because I ended up meeting Mindy, my wife, in that class. So see, sometimes changing isn't always a bad thing. But now here's another change. And it is a change here for all of us right now here at this church. You with a new minister, most of you not even really knowing me much other than some emails, some phone chats, or, if you were here for my audition weekend. Some of us have probably never even spoken or been formally introduced. We will have to change that, by the way, so try to catch me. Not everybody at once, but yeah, try to catch me. But change can be a freaking scary thing, can't it? It can be frightening. Heck, my wife and I don't even know where we're ultimately going to live in this city. And now that I just said that, I'm going to try to remember to breathe up here. Okay, anyway. But I think by now we've determined that change can be a pretty scary thing. And it can sometimes become very immobilizing. But it doesn't have to be. In fact, change can be a beautiful, amazing thing. And it can bring about the most wonderful changes in our lives. And today I want to talk a little bit about how we can embrace change, allowing us to see through any fears that might stand in the way, maybe through to the wonder that's within that change. So Unity co-founder Charles Fillmore, you may have heard of him, I'm not sure, but he once made an excellent statement surrounding change. And this statement has helped me to cope sometimes when I'm feeling the most stressed out by changes in our lives. He once stated, "I reserve the right to change my mind." I reserve the right to change my mind. And I like this statement so much because to me, what I take from that is that it implies that I have control. I reserve the right. Me, right here. Nobody else. I. And sure, there's some times where change happens in our lives that makes us feel a little powerless, isn't it? maybe a diagnosis, maybe there's an unwanted separation from a spouse or a partner. And I know that change like that isn't always easy in that moment. Sometimes an unexpected change can happen just in the blink of an eye, where we feel like the carpet has just been ripped completely out from under us. Change that just most certainly does not, it feels anything but pleasant. But even then, however, it's important to remember that we still have some control of that. And that control lies in how we respond to it. So let's face it, one of the reasons that we find ourselves so uncomfortable with change, because, well, it's uncomfortable, right? It feels foreign, and oftentimes we don't really like that. I mean, how many of us like walking into a dark tunnel, not being able to see anything, and not knowing where in the heck that thing is going to end? I sure don't. And if you do, let me know, because I need your secret. But change can be very challenging. It can leave us perhaps wondering, well, what in the heck is going to happen next? And how in the world is this story going to end? And believe me, every one of us in this room has been there. Every one of us, if we are breathing right now, we have been in the midst of a big change. Right smack, placed right in the middle of the uncomfortable. Sometimes feeling like you're flailing your arms, help. But what's the key? The key is that we must learn to grow comfortable within the uncomfortable. I had a feeling some of you knew I was going to say that. But it sounds like this huge paradox, doesn't it? Become comfortable in the uncomfortable? How in the world am I supposed to do something like that? How am I supposed to do this? First, remember those words of Charles Fillmore and know that you have the right to change your mind at any moment. I remember once reading about the writing process of a well-known, respected author. And she talked about how at times she'd give her book one final go before she shipped it off to her editor. And how more than once she looked at the ending of her book and said, you know what? I don't like that. And she rewrote the entire ending before she sent it off. You are also the author of your own life. You decide your reaction to your life and things that happen in it, whether it's change or anything else. You are the one that gets to decide how your story ends. Not me, not anybody else. You. That power lies with you. You decide that either you're going to allow yourself to become immobilized by fear of the unknown, or to perhaps instead become excited about the growth opportunity that lies within that unknown. Maybe it's more than one opportunity. Maybe there's several. The late journalist and filmmaker Nora Ephron, she hit the nail on the head when she once stated, "It will be a little messy, but embrace the mess. It will be complicated, but rejoice in the complications. It will not be anything like what you think it will be like, but surprises are good for you. And don't be frightened. You can always change your mind." And one of my favorites, the late, great Dr. Wayne Dyer, once said, "If you change the way you look at things, the things you look at change." And then Jimmy Dean once said, "I can't change the direction of the wind, but I can adjust my sails to always reach my destination." And when the sausage guy talks, you listen. I'm just kidding about that, but there really is truth found within that statement. Because most of us have probably learned by now, if there's one thing that's certain in this lifetime, it's that things are always in a state of flux and things are always in a state of change. The cells of our bodies, the time, the seasons, as you well know here in this state, since the winter is approaching, but everything is always in a state of change. And I'm sure most of you have heard the phrase of, if you don't like the weather, wait a minute, it will change. Because see, every single state in the United States thinks that that saying is specific to them, but it's everywhere. It's everywhere. But I invite you to remember that we learn through change. Always remember that. We grow through what we go through. When we look at it in this manner, change can then become a tool for our growth, a pathway that brings about those unexpected twists and turns. And let's face it, how many people in here would want to get on a roller coaster without twists and turns? There'd be no point on getting on something that goes 10 miles an hour just straight ahead. I mean, there's no fun in that. I wouldn't wait in one of those ridiculous lines to ride a roller coaster like that. I don't know about you. But I want to share a secret with you here. I am a person that I am terrified of heights. And if you saw the picture, I think it was in the e-news recently, I went ziplining. My mom was coming to visit me there in Oregon, and she's like, hey, I had mentioned ziplining at one point. She's like, hey, why don't we give this a go? I'll buy it for you for your birthday. And I'm thinking, okay, let's do this. I'll do it. I'm going to be attached to a line. It's not going to be that big of a deal. Wrong. One thing they failed to mention is that you go in groups of 10. And you're probably thinking, well, hey, that's a good thing. You got 10 people that you can sit there and share it with and laugh with and all this kind of stuff. Wrong again. That is until you find out about the platforms between each of the lines. And there were 7 of them. Those platforms were nothing more than these small square slabs of wood attached to the trees. And they moved. So imagine 10 people shoving themselves onto this small moving platform. There were no rails, so this thing's moving without rails. And yeah, we were strapped, but come on. My palms were sweating. I was gripping that line so tight, my knuckles were white. My mom's like, hey, why don't you move a little bit closer over here? I was like, nope, I'm fine right here. I wasn't moving at all. Some people even thought it would be funny to lean back. The whole look, Ma, no hands thing. And they were trying to get other people to do it. The instructor saw it. They're like, hey, why don't everybody do that? It'll help you to feel better. No, I did not do it. I did not do it. And I hope the man that was showing off is watching this. He doesn't know anything probably about Unity of Madison, but anyway. But the thing was, however, I did it. I went ziplining. I could have decided to stay right there on the ground. But unless I decided to make a change and try to do something different, I was never going to be able to begin to get beyond my fear of heights. Now, it didn't ultimately cure my fear of heights. I'm going to tell you that. It was fun, and by the time I went on the last zip, I did, let my hands go. But I am still scared of heights to this day. So I might go ziplining again if anybody knows of any cool areas. But it proved to me that I can face my fears and I can stare them directly in the eye. I can look at them and I can release fears that have held me back from maybe trying these fun new things. And we've got to be willing to face those moving platforms in our lives, or we're not going to move out of our comfort zones. When we don't move out of our comfort zones, we're unlikely to really be able to experience the growth that change can bring. So I invite you to try this the next time you're standing on the precipice of change. Try to remember in that moment that a giant leap off isn't necessary. You don't have to just run up and go full speed ahead. It's okay to just kind of tiptoe over to the edge and look down or look across, whichever way you're planning on going, and just kind of take a glimpse and see where it might lead. And it's okay to see the depths of that precipice or the distance across and turn around and say, well, maybe I need to grab my wings or my parachute. I'm not ready to just go, cold turkey right over the edge, whichever you feel the most comfortable with. It's okay to even sometimes say to yourself, self, not yet. I'm just not ready quite yet. Not today. Maybe even ask yourself before you take that leap, do I feel expansion within myself or do I feel constriction? There's nothing wrong with checking into your body and checking in with those feelings in your chest or your stomach or your head, anywhere you might be feeling sensation in the body. And check and see and ask yourself, well, how does it feel? The fear may be there regardless. Whether it's the right choice for you at that moment or not, the fear may be there regardless. But ask yourself, is there a hint of excitement contained within that fear? Do you feel a freedom if you think about moving beyond that fear? Or does it feel like the walls are closing in on you? It's okay to wait if you feel like those walls are closing in. Maybe it's just telling you, hey, just not right now. And that's okay too. Remember that you reserve the right to change your mind. It's okay to not take that leap in this very moment. And it's okay to just stop and think about it for a bit. Just remember, though, that you're never going to learn to trust your wings or your parachute if you don't eventually give it a go and take that leap. You also won't ever find out what's on the other side of that precipice or down below if you don't. You came to that precipice for a reason, and you owe it to yourself to find out what's there waiting for you. And for me personally, I often find that those things that I am most afraid of are usually those things that turn out to offer me the most spiritual growth. And those things, those changes I'm most afraid of, have been the changes that have brought about some of the most amazing things in my life. The most beautiful thing may be waiting for you as well. So think about what may have happened if I decided to not take the leap and come to Madison. I mean, sure, it doesn't mean that my life would have taken a turn for the worst, but nothing would have ever changed either. I wasn't happy doing corporate work because I knew that I was being called to do something different. I had a part-time ministry back in the Pacific Northwest, and that didn't scratch the itch either. I was afraid to make that leap for a bit, though. I was a little afraid to come to Madison. Again, I'm not going to lie to you. I was a little terrified at times, but I knew that I would never strap on those wings if I did not give it a go, if I was not willing to give it a go. And lastly, I invite you to remember that you don't have to go through change alone. We are all here to help you. Your friends and family want to help you. Be willing to accept the change to have others help you along your journey. None of us are here alone. And I know sometimes it may feel like it, especially when you got a big change or big decisions to make. Sometimes it feels that you're alone, but that's not the case. We're all in this together, and there will always be people along the way that will help you if you will allow it. And sometimes it's okay to take a step back and to acknowledge that, hey, it's okay to take that help. Just breathe for a moment and realize it's okay to take it. While the changes that we're going through, your changes aren't mine, my changes aren't yours, it sometimes helps to just know that somebody is there to listen, or to offer a hug or a smile even sometimes. And we're all here. Here right now at this church, we're all in this together. We're all going through this change here together. And it may look a little frightening, but it doesn't have to be. Part of the excitement in this is that nothing is written in stone. Nothing. We are in charge together, and we all get to write the ending to our own story. And we can all do that together. Hey, we got more than one author here. We're all good to go. And we get to make it up as we go along. We reserve the right to change our minds at any time, except for picking a different minister. That one you don't. But we have each other here to assist all of us along the way. And sure, there are times where it might get a little messy, but let's rejoice in that mess, and let's know that we're all here together, and we're all going to do this together. Namaste.